Have you been bullied as a student? How old are you by that time? What did you do to cope or fight back to these bully people? Bullying is a recurrent problem children and young like you are experiencing. In this video lesson, you will get to know the character named Daryl Mercer, who is a weak student who coped and fought back to a bully. Welcome to English with Sir Lau. This story is written by Anne Schraff, entitled The Bully.
Oh man, I hate this place. This is how Tyree Habs thought as he walked slowly towards Blueford's High School. The motion from each step sent a dull jab of pain into his left wrist, making him wince slightly. Just outside Blueford's thick steel front doors, Tyree adjusted his jacket, careful to conceal the bone-colored cast which now encased his left hand. The pain and cast were constant reminders of the humiliation he suffered 4 days ago. Until then, Tyree had been the most notorious bully in Blueford's freshman class. 6 feet tall and muscular, he could clear a path in a crowd just by showing up. In the middle school, Tyree had learned to use his size to intimidate people he didn't like. Sometimes, he impressed his friends by forcing smaller boys to give him money or do his homework. Other times, he threatened kids for fun. At Blueford, Tyree's reputation continued to grow until Daryl Mercer came along. The first time they met, Tyree thought Daryl was the perfect target, a scrawny and weak kid who transferred to Blueford in the middle of the school year. Having just moved from Philadelphia days earlier, Daryl didn't know a soul in California. He was scared. A punching bag with legs, Tyree thought. He had recognized the fear in Daryl's eyes from day one. After a bit of pressure, Daryl was giving Tyree his lunch money each week in hopes of being left alone. It was some of the easiest money Tyree had ever made. But 4 days ago, everything changed. The incident replayed in his mind like a scene from an old movie. It happened at lunchtime in the crowded school cafeteria. Tyree was hassling Daryl for skipping his weekly payment. To embarrass him, Tyree tipped Daryl's lunch tray, spilling food all over the smaller boy's clothes. The trick worked. Kids throughout the cafeteria howled at Daryl's mess. Then Daryl did something he had never done before. He stood up to Tyree in front of everyone. "Tyree, you ain't nothing but a bully. No one in this school likes you. They're just afraid of you. But you know what? I'm not afraid of you no more. You don't scare me." He then demanded that Tyree apologize and clean up the mess. Tyree was shocked at the smaller boy's bold words. It was true that Daryl had started acting more confident, especially since he befriended Mr. Mitchell, their nosy English teacher, and joined the Blueford wrestling team. But Daryl was still a coward. Tyree never expected him to stand up for himself. Careful not to show his surprise, Tyree stepped over to beat Daryl into the pulp right there in front of everyone. But Daryl was fast. The next thing Tyree knew, Daryl had swept underneath him, lifted him up, and sent him crashing onto the hard floor of the cafeteria. Tyree tried to cushion the fall with his left arm, but the impact cracked his wrist bone with a loud, wet snap. He could not believe the amount of pain he felt. A non-stop knifing ache mingled with the sensation that the inside of his wrist was on fire. Worse than the pain was seeing that kids who once feared him were laughing. Some even cheered. After the fight, Tyree was taken straight to the nurse's office. He was still fuming in the wake of his defeat, and his wrist was swelling by the minute. The nurse's reaction to his injury did not comfort him any.
"We've got to get you to the hospital. Your wrist doesn't look good at all, Mr. Hobbs. We'll have to call one of your parents to meet there."
Great, Tyree thought to himself. Just great. It was Mom who met Tyree and the school nurse at the emergency room of City General Hospital. For Tyree, sitting in the waiting room in pain for 2 hours was nothing compared to enduring his mother's cuddling the entire time. Once the nurse left, Mom looked at Tyree with a pitiful face. At one point, she even had tears in her eyes. "Mom, I'm fine," he insisted. Looking at her made him feel even worse about what happened. He did not want her mom there, but the school required a parent or guardian to be at the hospital with him. Tyree knew Mom was the only person he could turn to. Calling Dad never even crossed his mind.
"Honey, I hate to see you in pain, and I hate to see you in trouble. We have an appointment to see the principal first thing tomorrow morning. You might get suspended, or even worse."
Tyree tried to shrug off the whole thing. So what? I don't care about the school. That principal's wicked anyway.
"Well, I care, and so should you. I didn't want to believe the things that woman told me over the phone. I couldn't believe my ears. All those tales about you bullying kids and beating up on people. Tyree, it just breaks my heart. And your father won't be pleased by this at all."
Tyree knew Mom was right. His father would definitely not be pleased, but Tyree could not worry about that yet. He was still in a great deal of pain, and every time he thought about the fight in the cafeteria, he trembled with rage. Even as the doctor slowly wrapped his wrist, he was sitting in silence. He was not done with Darrell Mercer. The next morning before his first class, Tyree and his mother met with Mrs. Spencer, the school principal, who was sitting stern-faced at her desk. Tyree knew by the tightness in her jaw that he was in a big trouble. He just did not know how severe the punishment would be. Would he be suspended or expelled?
"Good morning, Mrs. Hobbs. Tyree, I've heard Darrell's side of this story. What do you have to say for yourself?"
It wasn't my fault, Tyree mumbled. Mercer started with me.
"I suggest you tell me the truth, Mr. Hobbs. We know how you have been bullying and intimidating other students. These are serious accusations. I suggest you tell me everything you know."
As her mother listened, her eyes filled with tears.
"Please, Tyree, just tell the truth."
"I ain't done nothing wrong. All you hearing is lies," Tyree began, but the anger in Mrs. Spencer's face stopped him right there.
"Mr. Hobbs, you are very close to being expelled from this high school. Do you understand what I'm saying?"
Tyree imagined what his father's reaction would be if he got expelled. Tyree was big, but his father was twice his size. In his high school days, Hill Hobbs was an offensive lineman on the football team, standing a solid 6 foot 4 inches and weighing almost 300 pounds. Tyree knew his father would be furious if he got expelled. He shuddered as he thought of his father's response to such news. "Okay."
"Not okay. Won't cut it around here. I understand, Mrs. Spencer."
Tyree was not used to being put in his place, not even by teachers. He felt a burning rage for the skinny woman glaring at him behind wire-rimmed glasses. But she had the power now, so Tyree swallowed hard and mumbled, "I understand, Mrs. Spencer."
Good. Now then, you will be suspended for 3 days for fighting and for bullying 7 other students. The suspension begins at once. And if there is ever any more bullying, Mr. Hobbs, I'll see to it that you are out of this school permanently. Don't worry, Miss Spencer. I know Tyree is sorry, and I'm sure he'll behave from now on. I hope so, for his sake.
Tyree shrugged his shoulders but said nothing. Miss Spencer's threats were nothing compared to what was waiting for him at home when his fathers found out about the suspension.
You little punk! Were you getting off fighting and messing around in school and getting your hand busted?
He's in a lot of pain.
Woman, don't give me that! You've been coddling this boy all his life, and that's why he got this kind of trouble with him now. I'm glad he's in pain. Understand? Now, leave us alone!
Mom hurried out of the room, lines of worry creasing her forehead. Tyree knew she was just as afraid of Dad as he was. He could count on his mother to protect him only so much.
This story teaches us that bullying is not a good thing. And to those who are bullied, you have the power to fight back and stop bullying. I hope you learned these lessons to this story. Thank you and goodbye.